All right, so you've done it. You've poured hours, maybe even days, into a design, and it's finally finished. But here's the real question. Is it great? You know, that leap from just done to flawless. That's exactly what we're going to dive into. We're going to break down the process for taking your work from pretty good to truly great, making sure it not only looks professional, but actually works for real people.
So picture this. You're looking at your design. It's clean, it's modern, and you're feeling pretty good about it. But then, that little nagging thought starts to creep into the back of your head, right? That one fundamental fear.
What if, after all that hard work, nobody can actually figure out how to use the thing? It's honestly the core anxiety for every single designer out there. Because let's face it, a design that isn't usable is really just a pretty picture.
And that anxiety, it comes from a very real thing we call the designer blind spot. It's basically a cognitive bias, sometimes called the curse of knowledge. We are just so deep into our own work. We know every screen, every flow, every single button, that we literally can't see it with fresh eyes anymore. See, our users, they don't have all this insider knowledge. For them, it's a brand new experience, and that's exactly where even the most beautiful designs can totally fall flat. So how do we get over this bias? Well, there's a simple but really powerful three-step process. Okay, let's get right into it. Step 1 is what I like to call a mandatory reality check. It's time to stop guessing and to start watching what actually happens when a real person encounters your design for the very first time.
And we get this reality check through something called usability testing. Now, to be really clear, this isn't about asking people if they like your color choices. It's about giving them a goal and then just silently observing. Can they actually complete the task, or do they struggle? This is where you find the unvarnished, honest-to-goodness truth.
This process is an absolute goldmine for insights you just can't find by yourself. It immediately shows you where users get confused, it reveals all these little points of friction you never noticed, and most importantly, it exposes your own hidden assumptions about how the design should work. Running a test doesn't have to be some huge, complicated production either. First, just define a few simple, goal-oriented tasks. Second, find a few users who aren't designers. Third, and I swear this is the hardest part, you just have to watch. Don't help, don't explain, don't defend your choices. And finally, take tons of notes. Every pause, every wrong click, every frustrated sigh, that's pure, actionable feedback right there.
And you don't need a massive budget for this. Seriously. Testing with just 3 to 5 users is almost always enough to reveal the most critical usability patterns. It's an incredibly efficient way to get the feedback you really need.
Now that you've got a notebook full of real-world feedback, it's time for Step 2, the smart upgrade. This is not about feeling defensive. It's about systematically evolving your design based on cold, hard evidence.
This is what we call design iteration. It's that disciplined cycle of refining your work and solving the real problems you just uncovered during testing. You're not starting over from scratch, you're just leveling up your design's intelligence. The most crucial thing here is getting into the right mindset. It is so tempting to think, the user just didn't get it. But a professional designer flips that script. They ask, what did my design fail to communicate? The responsibility for clarity is always on the design, not the user.
Look, you can't fix everything at once, so you have to be ruthless about prioritizing. Focus on the high-impact problems first. Anything that completely breaks navigation. Anything that blocks a user from completing a key task or causes major confusion. Cosmetic tweaks and minor inconsistencies, they can wait.
So, after you've made those critical, user-driven improvements, it's time for the final phase. This is the one that separates the good work from the truly professional work. Welcome to Step 3, the Pro Finish.
UI polish is that last 10%. It's the meticulous refinement that makes an interface feel crafted, coherent, and just plain solid. And let's be very, very clear. This is not a redesign. The big structural decisions are already made. Now you're just perfecting the tiny details.
So where do you start? With a checklist. Always start with the layout. Do a spacing audit. Are your padding and margins consistent on every single screen? Then, do an alignment audit. Are all your text blocks, icons, and buttons perfectly lined up? This stuff creates a subconscious sense of calm and order for the user.
Next, move on to the visuals. Check your typography. Is the visual hierarchy absolutely clear? Are your heading and body text sizes the same everywhere they should be? Then, look at your color palette. Is your main action color used consistently for the same kinds of things? And crucially, does your text have enough contrast to be readable for everybody?
Now for the interactions. Audit your components. Does every single button have a clear state for hover, focus, and when it's disabled? What about those little micro-interactions? What does the user see when a page is loading or when an item gets added to a cart? These small details are what make an interface feel responsive and alive.
For the final pass, your mission is to reduce and review. Hunt down and eliminate any visual noise, unnecessary lines, extra shadows, or colors that don't serve a clear purpose. Just simplify. And then do one last accessibility check for things like minimum text size and touch target sizes. Make your design work for everyone.
You know, when you bring these 3 steps together, the reality check, the smart upgrade, and the pro finish, you uncover a fundamental truth about what it really means to create exceptional work. So what should you really take away from all this? Simple. Testing reveals the reality of your design. Feedback is what improves its clarity. Iteration is what builds quality into the product. And that final polish, that's what creates true professionalism. Always remember this: great design is not born in some sudden moment of inspiration. It's forged through a deliberate process of testing, listening, and refining. So the real question isn't whether your first draft is perfect, but whether you are committed to the process that will eventually make it great.
Like, share, and subscribe.